Hello, my name is Sanai Pierre, and I'm going to show you how to assemble a high grip wheel. So, in the LimbleWorks robotics team, we use high grip wheels and attach them to the bottom of the chassis. And so, the chassis is basically think of the skeleton of the body. This is what the chassis is to the robot. So, there are two types of wheels that we're going to make. One type is outside wheels, which is at every corner here. So one, two, three, four. And then two pairs of inside wheels. So we have one on the left and one on the right. Okay, so in order to make said wheel, you're going to need to import three parts. First is what I'm going to call the body of this wheel. So this whole part here. Then you're going to need to import a Versa pulley, and we did a 42T by 18 millimeter wide Versa pulley for this. And then you're also going to need, here I'm going to highlight this, a bearing. This is what's going to help connect or bound the pulley to the body of the wheel. So here, let's open all these back up and get started. So first, you want to open with the body of your wheel. And before you import the bearing, which is the next step, you want to make sure your file is saved. So we're going to go to this, here, let's close this for now. Go to the top left where it says File, click the drop down arrow, and click Save. Just click Save. Or you can just click this printer button, and once that's not highlighted anymore, you know you're good to go. So now we're going to drag and import this bearing into this file and close the data panel. And we're just going to move this bearing so that it's at a workable spot. So now what we're going to do is bound together these two parts. And what we're going to do is use a joint. So when you go to the toolbar and you go down, you're going to see joint here. And I just want to remind you that when you hover over a tool, no matter what tool it is, and you maybe forget how to use that tool, it'll show you there when you hover and stay over. So now what we're going to do is join these two together. And just so you know, when you are joining two things together, you see component 1 and component 2. Component 1 should be what's moving. So in this case, the bearing is moving because it's a smaller object. This is already in a steady place. So component 1, we're going to click this face. And then for component 2, we're going to click here, do this inside. So that's going to go together. As you can see, if we do the front view, this is not pushed on the way. So we're just going to zoom in, take this arrow and drag it until here. Then click OK. So now this is here. It's going to make it easier for us to join the pulley. So when you're importing a second and a third, you don't need to have your file does not need to be saved in order for you to drag that in, but it is a good idea to save in between components just in case something happens. So remove that to a workable space, go back to joints. This time we're going to use this face here as our joint 1. Oh, actually, I forgot something. Okay, so what's going to happen, there's a step you need to do before you join these together. Because what's going to happen is you're going to click this face, join it, click OK, but only this third of the pulley is going to move. So what you need to do is you need to go to the pulley, and just so you know, it'll highlight once you know you're on the right one, right click and click rigid group. That's going to join all the different parts of this pulley together to make sure that when you join this face to this face, everything moves along with it when you complete that joint. So we're going to go back to the joint, do our face here, and do this face here. Now what we're going to do to make sure everything is lined up, do a right face. See these holes? These holes need to be aligned. So we're just going to turn until all the holes are aligned. I'm going to click OK, and then as you can see, everything went along with it. So an outside wheel only has one one pulley. So this is good. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to File, click that drop down arrow, click Save As, and then we're going to name it 6-inch outside wheel. And here's, you can choose whatever location you want to save this under. This is where I'm going to have it saved. I'm going to click Save. Now, if you want to make an inside wheel, what you can do is take this file, copy it, and then follow the following instructions. So now what we're going to do is do exactly what we just did on this right side to the left side. So we're going to go back, and this file is already saved, so we can just go and bring in our bearing. Click and drag this bearing here. Close the data panel. Once that is in, here, we're going to move this over here to workable space. Click OK. And once again, go back to the joint tool in the toolbar. Click this face. Click this face out here. This face. And another point I want to bring up is that all joints are going to be rigid. There are joints where you can add motion here, but we're not focusing on that right now. These are all rigid joints. So zoom in, drag into connected, and click OK. Now once again, we can bring in our Versa pulley. Close our data panel. Move this to a workable space just so it's easy to see on the surfaces and faces. Click a joint, and then we're going to do our same surfaces as last time. Turn. Ooh, okay. See what we didn't do here is we did not do our rigid group. So we're going to delete this joint, highlight our second pulley, do a rigid group to bind all these different components together. That's will show up in the timeline as a checkered square. So you see a checkered square, you know that's a rigid group. So click J for joint on your keyboard, or just go back to the toolbar. Click our two surfaces here. Make sure our holes are aligning. Click OK. Okay, so now that there are two pulleys on either side, this is now an inside wheel. So you're going to go to File, Save As. This is an inside wheel. Now you're not going to do what I'm going to do. You're not going to do what I just did and just add it on and replace it. This is going to be a separate wheel. So you're going to have your separate outside wheel, one pulley. You're going to have your separate inside wheel with two pulleys. And then what you're going to do, just as a safe measure, is right click on your body as a whole, your model as a whole. You're going to do a rigid group. This will just ensure that once you move it to a newer place, like for example, when you move it to the chassis to do a full robot assembly, when you put your joints together, those parts will stay together. So you're going to do a quick save, and then there you go. Thank you for listening, taking the time out to learn how to assemble this high grip wheel. Have a nice day.